only a handful of franchises throughout film history with more acclaim and reverence than Harry Potter. 8 films is all it took to introduce a whole new audience of adults and children alike to the film world. Naturally, the books played an instrumental role in the films. Without them, there are no films. But what really made the film stand out was the choice of director for each. Directors are the heart and soul of a film. They control every detail from the big picture editing all the way down to the tiny details of how a prop should look. Through 8 films, we got 4 different directors, 1 and 2 being helmed by Christopher Columbus, 3 Alfonso Cuarón, 4 Mike Newell, and 5 through 8 David Yates. With as much control as directors have, each new director completely changed or reinvented the Harry Potter world we knew. Each time a new director stepped foot behind the camera of a Harry Potter film, everything felt different from the last. Tone, pacing, coloring, cinematography, use of visual effects, and of course performances from the actors. To kick the franchise off, Christopher Columbus stepped behind the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah, I am so envious of like the 4th director who got to just go on the set and have fun. There's not much left to do except move the camera. But I was, once I got the job, there was about 20 seconds of euphoria. And then I was filled with terror, anxiety, because I knew the entire world was looking at this book series.
Anyone that loves films owes as much to Christopher Columbus as J.K. Rowling, in my humble opinion. He may not be the best of the bunch, nor did he make the best films, but he's the sole reason so much of this franchise works. He is responsible for casting the now hugely recognizable actors, hiring the incredible John Williams to give this the musical tone it desperately needed, and establish the all-important look of the world. So let's examine these 3 keys he did to solidify Harry Potter as we know it today. For one, the actors are nearly perfectly cast for their roles. Christopher Columbus did an outstanding job of gathering fresh faces for the main cast and pairing them with seasoned actors that people now completely associate with their roles from these films. I doubt they'll ever live these roles down. Not to mention, if anyone takes on the role of someone like, Severus Snape, they will have to then try to fill the massive shoes Alan Rickman left. Same goes for Dumbledore, McGonagall, Hagrid, the Dursleys, Umbridge, or Voldemort, who are not just played by incredible actors, but are, at this point, so entrenched with the characters they played, it's hard to imagine another actor there. We owe almost all of these now iconic castings to Columbus, who seemed to take great pride in getting the characters exactly right as they were portrayed in the book. Then there was the hiring of John Williams, the greatest film composer of all time, who immediately wrote the now instantly recognizable theme song. The theme is killer and worms its way into your head, but the smaller moments of the score in this first film are somehow better. Just listen to the fantastically ominous Sorcerer's Stone theme, or the upliftingly magical Diagon Alley track. Without Williams, the feeling of the film from just the score would be vastly different. And if you want any indication of that, just listen to the first film without John Williams, Goblet of Fire.
Don't you turn your back on me, Harry Potter! I want you to look at me when I kill you! I want to see the light leave your eyes!
It's completely different. Finally, the look of this film perfectly articulates the world of wizards. It has this tactile quality, like this is a real world just under our noses. The best juxtaposition of this is when Harry and Hagrid enter Diagon Alley. Going from the clean and modern look of London into this nearly Renaissance world standing invisible to ours. Doing this as practical as possible has helped this film stand the test of time. Obviously, the visual effects that they do use look dated now, but watching this film shot on practical sets, real locations, and using real props helped it stay grounded in our reality. These are all pieces to the directing puzzle that are hugely important, but for a franchise of numerous films, it's even more critical to get these right immediately. Of course, there are a few recastings, location updates, and crew changes, but the vast majority of what Columbus set down remained until the final picture. But let's look at some things that Columbus does here that separates him from the other directors.
Yeah, I thought I was going to stay stay for all 7 initially, and then each film was 160 days back to back. So basically, after 320 days of shooting, I could barely form a sentence.
So I can hear you asking, what is directing? What do I have to do to be a good director? Well, there's 4 major tips I can give you about how to become a better director. 1, blocking an image. 2, staging an image. 3, lighting an image or understanding lighting at the very least. And 4 is cutting to provide emphasis in the scene. Blocking and staging a scene are critical to understand, and it's 2 things that not a lot of people fully grasp. So what's blocking a scene? Well, blocking a scene is pretty straightforward as well. It's just composing an image. What does the image look like? How do you want it to shoot the image? Where are the actors going to be? Me, in this case. Where's this chair going to be? And how am I going to frame the shot with all of these in it? That's blocking. Staging is a little bit different. Staging asks questions. Is there movement? If so, how do people move? And if the people move, how does the camera move to compensate for it? And you have to figure out all of these things as a little dance. And that's staging. Staging a scene is all about movement, while blocking a scene is all about composing.
For starters, the tone of the first one is the most lighthearted of the bunch by far. Even the generally darker Chamber of Secrets maintains this whimsical tone. It perfectly fits the young cast as they venture into this new world of magic. We, like Harry, are being introduced to this fantastic world for the first time, so it's quite fitting to view it through his lens. Of course, even the most standard parts of this wizarding world will be magical to Harry, and portraying them as such does wonders for the audience as well. It could have been easy to blitz through the mundane things like shopping in this world, but it never rushes it, allowing us to understand slowly how it all works as Harry does. While he isn't the most stylish director and often resorts to a rather flat and unmoving camera, he has a great sense of how to orchestrate an effective scene.
Eventually, even the most high-octane action movies and artsy indie movies will boil down to one of 2 sequences: dramatic or expository. Both of these can be achieved through action, dialogue, or visuals. One of the easiest and most popular ways of communicating exposition to the audience is by telling it to your main character through another character.
Mend bones in a heartbeat, but growing them back...
You will be able to, won't you?
Oh, I'll be able to, certainly, but it'll be painful.
So let's see how Chris tackles this unique problem of making boring information fun or interesting. Take this scene when Professor McGonagall tells her students about the Chamber of Secrets. We wisely open the scene with a bit of magic, capturing the audience's interest with animals becoming goblets. After a bit of comedy to lighten the mood, we dive straight into the murky waters of the Chamber of Secrets. We learn about the history behind it and what could possibly lie inside if proven real. Much like many other scenes of expository dialogue based on a book, it's very wordy and lacks visual flair. You can attribute this to the book to some degree, but Columbus also seems more interested in getting the shot than orchestrating a compelling sequence here. Watch the editing and shot compositions of this scene carefully. We get a few early wide shots, a handful of mediums, a few more wides, and 1 or 2 close-ups mixed with a large amount of reaction shots. McGonagall is the main focus of the scene, only cutting away from her to a student when they speak or a reaction shot after a particularly interesting tidbit. It's by-the-number shooting and editing, the result of which makes some of these scenes drag to watch and can lose the audience very quickly if you're not careful. The quick cut out of the scene and the placement of the magical happenings at the beginning save it from complete ruin. If you want an audience to be committed to your story and wordy dialogue, finding new and interesting ways of cutting and shooting are critical. For this reason, it seems these 2 movies from Columbus are heralded as more boring than the others. While I love how he designs the film, it's far from the most stunning looking, but admittedly, the Chamber of Secrets does improve on this marginally. Staging and blocking is better, characters are moving around the scene more, like this sequence with Dobby, or this scene near the end with Gilderoy Lockhart. There is a lot more dynamic moving in this second movie, and I'll give him credit for that. But even the action falls a bit flat under scrutiny. This is where he was forced to use now-dated visual effects to create some of the more difficult scenes, like Quidditch, or the scene when Harry has to catch a flying key.
Catch the key!
In this scene where Harry's trying to catch the key, we're supposed to get this feeling of tension as Harry is debating what he should do, yet it's shot like the most basic dialogue scene. Talking, cut. Talking, reaction. Medium, medium, close, medium, close. Then as Harry gets on the broom and all hell breaks loose, we cut to this unconvincing and boring wide with keys surrounding him. If there is one thing wide shots aren't, it's exciting. Wides are meant to establish location or show off a goofy situation, not establish tension. From the time Harry jumps on his broom to the time the keys slam into the door at the end of this scene, there's only about 20 cuts. And I'm not advocating for Taken 3 level of editing, but a quicker pace I think could have helped the scene dramatically. A couple of flat mediums, top-down wides, close-ups, and low angles don't quite capture the drama of the scene properly. Like this shot when Hermione catches the key and we cut to this low angle. We hold here for far too long and it slows things down too much. There's ample room here for tension building. Cutting to Hermione struggling with the key, accompanied by a quick handheld pan up to her face, could have given this shot much more intrigue and tension and drama. Even this scene with the basilisk in Chamber of Secrets should be more tense, but thanks to bland editing and a lack of creative shots, it doesn't quite capture the feeling it's going for. These first two movies are, for better or worse, the books on screen. Rarely does it change dramatically from the story or layout that the book left. Adaptations, to a certain extent, do need to give a bit of flair to make a book more visual, and Columbus unfortunately doesn't do that often enough. I know he felt pressured to make this as close to the book as possible, and I commend him for that. I'm sure the strain and stress and anxiety of making such a beloved classic into a film is a lot, and the world he set up is designed very well. It's just the filmmaking that could be better. Both of these first two films suffer from flat and mostly lifeless cinematography and run-of-the-mill editing. Shot reverse shots of talking, not much movement. It's serviceable and at times maybe a bit more than that, but it rarely rises up to great.